The chair recognizes the Sergeant of Arms.
Madam President, the Secretary of State, Matt Schultz, Treasurer of the State, Michael Fitzgerald, Secretary of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, Bill Northey, State Auditor, David Vault, and Attorney General Tom Miller have arrived in the House chamber.
Please escort the members of the Executive Council and the Attorney General to their seats. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, the Justices of the Supreme Court, the Chief Judge and Judges of the Court of Appeals, and the Chief Judges of the District Courts have arrived in the House chambers.
Please escort the Justices of the Supreme Court, the Chief Judge and Judges of the Court of Appeals, and the Chief Judges of the District Courts to their seats. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Madam Chair President, the Chief Justice's wife, Rebecca, and his son and daughter-in-law, Spencer and Riley Cady, have arrived in the House chambers, along with special guest, former Governor Robert D. Ray.
Please escort the Chief Justice's family and Governor Robert Ray to their seats. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds has arrived in the House chamber.
Please escort Lieutenant Governor Reynolds to her seat. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, your committee to escort Governor Terry E. Branstad has arrived.
The committee will escort the Honorable Terry Branstad to the rostrum. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, your committee to notify and escort the Chief Justice have arrived.
The committee will escort the Honorable Mark S. Cady, Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court, to the rostrum. Good morning, Chief. Good to see you again. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court, Mark S. Cady, to deliver the State of the Judiciary message.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam President and Mr. Speaker, members of the General Assembly, Governor Branstad, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, state officials, my family, my colleagues, distinguished guests, and friends. The responsibility of the Chief Justice of this state to appear before the joint session each year to report on the condition of the judiciary was enacted into law by you in 1978, and it was signed into law that same year by Governor Ray, who is with us this morning. Chief Justice Ward Reynoldson was the first chief to perform this task in response to your law. And at the beginning of his speech, he quipped that he would have been just as enthusiastic and just as willing to appear before you had he merely been invited. While I was invited today, I can assure you that I am just as enthusiastic as Chief Justice Reynoldson was then, because I'm excited to talk to you, because every one of us in the judicial branch of government is poised to make this Iowa court system the best, the most advanced, and the most responsive court system in the nation. And I look forward with hope and with promise to working to accomplishing this goal. As we have proven in the past, a great vision can become a reality when we work together. And let me just pause to tell you a short personal story. When my son was in grade school, I coached his grade school football team along with some other dads. We practiced on the school grounds after dinner in the grassy area where the children played at recess during the day. One evening, 2 games into the season, both of which we had lost, I noticed a man and a girl standing off to the side. I walked over and spoke to the man, and he told me that his daughter suffered from a profound hearing loss, and she could not hear without her hearing aids, one of which she had lost in that grassy field during recess that day. The hearing aid was very small, and it was very expensive. We stopped practice. The coaches had the boys line up, shoulder to shoulder, heads down, and began walking the field. And within a few minutes, lying in that sea of grass, the hearing aid was found. And so too was the recipe for our success as a team for the rest of that season, and I think beyond. We all learned that when all players do their jobs, when they trust each other to do their jobs, success can be achieved. The boys went on to win the rest of their regular season games. And as is often the case, the lessons of our children are our lessons as well. We, the 3 branches of government, are a team that is poised for great success, and it is incumbent upon us, its leaders, to forge and implement a plan that achieves this success for all Iowans. We are partners in this venture because our Constitution, properly I might add, has given you control over the purse strings of this state. And my responsibility is twofold. It is first to share with you a vision of our courts that will meet the expectations of Iowa today and into the future, and second, to provide you with the information you need to make the best and most informed decisions possible for the funding and the operation of our courts. This is the process of responsible government, and I promise you that I will do everything I can to give you the information you need. And on behalf of the entire judicial branch staff, we promise to work as hard as we can to make people's lives better and to enhance our state's economic vitality so that all Iowans will feel a sense of pride in the way their government operates and serves them. In addition to my remarks this morning, I will continue to communicate with you by maintaining office hours here at the Capitol to answer your questions and expand upon our vision for the improvement of our judicial branch. Also, immediately following my remarks this morning, I invite each one of you to join us, all of the judges here, for a reception in our historic courtroom downstairs. Since the last time I spoke with you, the Supreme Court has continued, and it will continue, to hear Supreme Court proceedings across the state every spring and every fall of the year. We hear these oral arguments in the evening, so as many people as possible may attend. The evening sessions also enable the court members to meet with Iowans, to answer their questions, and to hear their expectations of the Iowa court system. The following morning, the justices fan out into nearby schools to talk with students, teachers, and educators. through the Court on the Road efforts during our last year, 2012, we visited 5 Iowa communities as a full court, and the individual justices visited 40 schools, colleges, and universities across this state. And I would just like to take this moment to say thank you to all the teachers and the principals, the school districts, the college administrators, and community leaders who welcomed us into their classrooms and their communities. To gain even a broader perspective, I have also met with Iowa's business leaders who rely so much on our court system of fair and impartial courts. Likewise, all members of the Supreme Court have met with civic groups, business organizations, legislators, local leaders, educators, students, and of course those individuals who work in the judicial branch on a daily basis. We have learned so much from our experiences. These Iowans have described for us what they expect and what they need from a court system. This list is fairly straightforward. Protect Iowa's children. Provide full-time access to justice. Operate an efficient, full-service court system. Provide faster and less costly resolution of legal disputes. Be open and transparent. And provide fair and impartial justice for all. Let me elaborate, starting with our state's most precious resource. Iowans expect the courts to be there for their children in this state. You have assigned to us the responsibility to do so, which we embrace with the care and the attention that it demands. Young Iowans who turn to crime or must cope with shattered families or who must suffer from daily abuse represent a tragic failing in our society. They also represent a potential expenditure of millions, no, actually billions, of future taxpayer dollars if they end up incarcerated or end up being treated with more serious conditions as adults. We save taxpayer dollars when troubled children receive full and timely services of the juvenile court system. In this critical area, the courts do not just hold juveniles accountable for their actions. We also construct, implement, and monitor a remedy until our assistance is no longer needed. We are not only an emergency room for these struggling children and their families at times, we are also the recovery room and, more importantly, the rehabilitation center that follows. At each stage, we need the full complement of resources to do the job right. We all fail. We all fail if our courts fail our children. Today, juvenile court judges across this state have chosen to devote their professional lives to making a real difference in the lives of our troubled children. These men and women are dedicated to putting a stop on the otherwise likely cycle of delinquency and adult criminal behavior. They run innovative and inspiring courtrooms devoted to making positive changes in the lives of children. A great example is our nationally recognized family drug courts that target families with parents who have substance-related disorders. These courts bring together members of the community, members of the extended family, counselors, and service providers to keep children with their families. These drug courts are funded by a federal grant which has recently been renewed. And in the past 5 years, our family drug courts have saved 399 families. They've served 399 families, and 80% of those families are still together. These family drug courts have also reunited families or prevented foster placement for 576 children. And the efforts of this program have saved taxpayers over $2 million over the last 5 years of its operation. Our family drug courts are examples of proven court innovations and collaborations that benefit families and taxpayers. For children who are themselves in trouble with the law, juvenile court officers work closely with our judges to assist children and their families to transform behaviors and attitudes before it's too late. Your court system helps mend the lives of thousands of young Iowans, helping them become good and productive citizens. Sadly, however, we are far from reaching all of our children and families in need, and sometimes even the most fundamental ways. I have visited with juvenile court judges and juvenile court officers, and I have learned firsthand that the most important and proven part of their job is to have an early face-to-face intervention with troubled kids. One conversation between a child and a devoted and trained juvenile court officer asking the right questions can often identify the underlying problems and help match the needs of the child with the services available in the community. And with enough support, the juvenile court officer can then monitor the child's progress through the treatment and therapy. We do not have enough juvenile court officers, however, to reach all of our children in need. This is just wrong. Every child who enters into our system deserves to have at least a face-to-face meeting with an assigned, trained juvenile court officer. We know that with early personal intervention, more troubled children will be saved from a life of crime and lifted out of a world of heartache. With your help, this can be done. If we are going to accomplish anything, any lasting good in our lives, if we're going to accomplish any lasting good in our lives, it must begin by bringing good to the lives of our children. Thank you. Thank you. Iowans expect and deserve full-time access to justice, whether it is children in need or you, or your businesses, or your friends and neighbors who must count on access to court services. It is clear that Iowans expect government to operate on a full-time, full-service, and efficient manner, including our court system. Currently, all clerks' offices in Iowa are closed every Tuesday and every Thursday afternoon. Closures deny access to Iowans, including those seeking commitment of loved ones for mental illness and substance abuse, and people seeking protection from domestic violence. And we've all heard stories about domestic violence victims having to wait for an order of protection because the clerk's office was not open to them. We also know that more families in Iowa, more families are in need of mental health services and are turning to our courts every year. The number of adult mental health commitment petitions has grown 45% in the last decade, while the number of juvenile commitment petitions has grown 93% during the same time. When a mental health crisis strikes a family, our courts must be accessible. In addition, these closures slow down the regular processing of child support checks, liens, garnishments, warrants, and other important matters. These closures must end. Iowans deserve and expect all clerk of court offices to be open every day during business hours. The Iowa Judicial Branch continuously works to improve access to the courts and to make its operations efficient. While we have made tremendous progress in these efforts in recent years, including, as you are aware, with EDMS, our electronic document management system, with EDMS, we are creating and we are implementing an efficient, paperless court system. This project is on track to be nearly half done at the end of this year. We still have much work to do, but there are many expert and devoted judicial branch employees making it happen. But it's already become a national model for other states to follow. Since the first document was successfully electronically filed in Plymouth County in January 2010, court users have electronically filed nearly 1 million documents in 15 Iowa counties. We began the county-by-county approach to implementing EDMS that has included extensive training for all court users. And in Woodbury County, the first move into a large county well over a year ago now, Sioux City Police Chief Doug Young says his officers now use and depend on EDMS every day without complaint. He reports that EDMS quickly passes critical information between the courts and the police. And I have heard similar reports from Humboldt County Sheriff Dean Kruger and Fort Dodge Police Chief Tim Carmody, who said that with EDMS, his officers receive search warrants and court orders faster than before. And now there is less administrative paperwork, which means that his officers can spend more time out on the streets. Many EDMS users are also self-represented litigants who can now file from their homes in the evening when they're off from work, or small business owners who do not need to interrupt their workday to race to the courthouse to file a lien or other court documents. Judges using EDS can be much more efficient and are now able to, for example, to prepare for a case in one county while doing work in a neighboring county. By the end of this year, we expect to have EDMS in 30 more counties. Iowans expect and deserve timely resolution of their legal disputes. The old axiom, justice delayed is justice denied, is more and more true in our increasingly fast-paced world. I hear repeatedly in my conversations with business leaders across the state about the importance of resolving disputes quickly and inexpensively so that the parties can move on. Often, time waiting for the resolution of a legal matter can be time when capital is not invested, new employees may not be hired, or economic development can be put on hold. While EDMS will help, our court system is still plagued with costly, frustrating, and unnecessary delays. Technology can only do so much for a justice system. And we have learned in recent years that potential efficiencies in our court system can quickly fall out of reach without sufficient personnel. Too many times, a case must be rescheduled because a judge is without some essential staff to allow the case to proceed. And I have personally called lawyers in this state to apologize for this unfortunate circumstance. In people's lives, one courthouse delay is one too many. This is not how a justice system should operate, and it's not what Iowa litigants should endure. We can have a responsive, full-service court system if our judges have the support they need to run an efficient courtroom. And this leads me to a related point. We are trying to do everything we can to operate our branch of government as any efficient, successful business or organization would operate. And we must pay competitive salaries to our judges and magistrates that reward superior performance, sustain committed service, and compete in the marketplace. We all know that adequate employee compensation is successful in any business operation, including the operation of our courts. Iowans expect our court to give users more options to resolve legal disputes, civil legal disputes, in a way that meets the changing needs of the 21st century, and to provide better, faster, less costly court services. 12 months ago, I spoke to you about the importance of a fair and predictable justice system to economic development in Iowa. Since that time, business leaders from around the state have continued to share their vision for a modern and responsive court system. And we are moving forward with two innovations to provide faster and less expensive dispute resolution in Iowa. First, we are in the process of enhancing the civil justice system by developing another track litigants can select, which streamlines the discovery process to reduce costly and time-consuming discovery disputes that often accompany litigation. This will offer users a means to obtain a more prompt resolution of legal disputes at less expense. Second, we have recently approved a pilot project to establish business courts in Iowa. Our Civil Justice Reform Task Force study looked into this concept, and we have thoroughly discussed the project with many groups of Iowans, including business leaders. Importantly, the business courts will be staffed by judges that will be specially trained in the complex legal issues facing businesses in our modern economy. These judges will offer commercial litigants the expertise needed and desired when courts are asked to resolve their disputes in a fair and impartial manner. Our courts will spotlight the integrity of all the courts throughout this state as another example of the commitment of our court system to treat all litigants and all their claims with our full respect and understanding. By relocating these complex litigation cases to a separate docket, other civil cases should proceed more efficiently in the existing docket. Additionally, we expect business courts to help all Iowans by becoming an important part of the new wave of economic confidence in Iowa as a place to grow and prosper. And we can all agree that America's core strength is its innovation, its ideas, and for sure, the courts are a part of this innovation too. Iowans demand the courts, as well as all state government, be open and transparent. As you know, the strength of our democracy requires a well-informed citizen. The strength and effectiveness of our court system depends on public confidence in courts. To this end, the judicial branch has been a national leader in allowing audio, photographic, and video coverage of the courts. Our rules governing media coverage are carefully designed to prevent disruption of the court hearing and to safeguard the rights of litigants to a fair trial or a fair appeal. These rules have worked well for many, many years. However, they are also rapidly becoming outdated by smartphones and other ways of communication such as blogging and Twitter. And in response, the Supreme Court has created a committee of journalists and court users to update these rules and address the new media covering our government. Working together, we will be able to allow all Iowans, especially our next generation, to see for themselves how our justice system works for them. As we have in the past, our justice system welcomes transparency. It is a critical part of our future success because it does enhance public understanding. Iowans demand our courts provide fair and impartial justice for all. Through our merit selection process, our courts continue to be free from political influence and provide impartial justice for all Iowans. Our judges make decisions based on the facts of the case and the law of a case. Allegiance to the law is the very core of our judicial system. It is embodied in our oath. It is embodied in our ethics. And it is our constant pledge to all Iowans. While some may disagree with the court's work from time to time, it is our hope that this pledge will always be visible in all of our work to all Iowans. We must all be devoted to fair and impartial courts because it is an important component to our future success as a state. Throughout this last year, I've listened carefully to Iowans across this great state, as have all of the justices on the court. These thoughtful voices of Iowans continue to resonate with us today, and I can assure you the caring faces of Iowans have not been forgotten and continue to guide us in our commitment to our system of justice. I pledge to you that we will continue to engage all Iowans in conversations about the needs and the expectations to build this great court system. And so, it is that I stand before you today as the voice for our judicial branch of government, as the voice of the judicial branch staff who are all in to make this court system the best in the country, every one of us. I am also the voice of hundreds and thousands of court users in Iowa, including Iowans suffering from mental illness and drug addiction. And I am the voice for a committed and caring legal profession that relies on our court system in representing Iowans. And I am the voice of victims of crime, of victims of injustice, the voice of the accused, the voice of families torn apart, the voice of our troubled children who depend on our courts for their safety and their success, and the voice of all of those who believe, as I believe, that our courts must have a strong foundation for each generation to build on and to flourish. Together, we are the voice for Iowans. We must work together to deliver on that grand vision of our forefathers, that the government they created, that the government they passed to us will be the government operated by each generation to enrich the lives of Iowans and always make those lives the happiest, the healthiest, and the most prosperous possible. It's a vision. It's a vision that only today's leaders can deliver. And so, the cause is just. And despite our best efforts, our court system isn't quite there. So it is today that I stand before you with this vision of a court system that can get there, that can reach its greatest potential. And at the same time, I stand before you with the information you need to help make that a reality. Let this day be that time when we walk together. Walk together as my son and his teammates did, shoulder to shoulder. Let us work together to advance this just cause to reach our greatest potential. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Will the committee to escort the Chief Justice please come forward and escort Chief Justice Cady from the House chamber? There it goes. Huh? I know.
Well done. Thank you.
Does that happen a lot? Or is it just me? Will the committee to escort the governor please come forward and escort Governor Terry Branstad from the House chamber?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you again, Governor.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Start going out. I'll wait. The chair recognizes a representative from Cerro Gordo, Representative Uppmeyer.
Madam President, I move that the joint convention be dissolved.
You have heard the motion of the representative from Cerro Gordo, Representative Uppmeyer. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion prevails and the joint convention is dissolved.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I lost the gavel.
You lost it. No, that's all right.
It's okay. Okay, are we done with joint? Oh, till next week, huh?
Is it next week or the week after?